My name is James Parker, and I'm super excited to be joined. First of all, I want to say welcome everyone to the 2021 Woke Summit. It's a little different. It was different last year, different this year, but it's great. We're excited to have everyone on board. We are talking about some incredible and important parts of running your business, and that's the financials. That's the money, the bag, whatever you want to call it. This is probably the most important part because if your money and your books are not in order or if they are whack, you're going to be in trouble in more ways than one. And so we're going to talk about how to get those books in order. And we've got two incredible speakers with me. Ladies first, Hadassah Hickman from Sitar. Hadassah, how are you?
Hey, good afternoon. I am doing well. The world is open back up, and that means jams in Chicago on a Friday again. I haven't seen this in about 15 months.
Right.
So I am doing well, and I'm actually acquainting myself with this traffic. So I am not on camera right now, but I'm going to join you guys on camera in about 10 minutes, but I'm happy to get the dialogue going, and certainly, what a Friday. Happy to be here.
No problem, no problem. And then we are joined by Jeff Badu. Probably I've called him one of the smartest men I know as far as financial. And also, you're smart too, Adasa. Don't get me wrong, because I know you work with me. I'm sorry. But Jeff, one of the smartest guys I know. I've actually called him for advice. He's one of our guest trainers on our next startup class. So if you're ready for the fall, he's one of the main reasons why you should be joining. Jeff Badu is the, I want to say, president and founder of Badu. Oops, I just messed that up. Jeff, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it, James. So my name is Jeff Badu. I'm a parallel entrepreneur and a wealth multiplier. I'm the founder and CEO of Badu Enterprises LLC, which is a multinational conglomerate in the finance industry. So what we do is essentially we provide a suite of financial services, including our marquee company, which is Badu Tax Services, and that's the firm that does tax preparation, tax planning, and tax representation for individuals and businesses across all 50 states in the U.S., and we also have clients in over 20 countries now. On top of that, we have the Badu Investments, and that's my real estate investment company that invests in apartment buildings, mainly on the south side of Chicago, to restore traditionally underserved communities. And last but not least, by the way, there's 12 companies in the enterprise, but last but not least is the Badu Foundation. And that's where we provide financial literacy education to the youth ages 6 to 18. Our program for this year actually kicks off tomorrow. And so with that, lastly, my purpose in life is to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle.
I love it. I love it. Jeff, you could talk all day, bro. I mean, the fact that you've been able to create all these different entities, I think it proves one quick thing is that you have to have all your books in order, right?
Yes,
You
sir.
have to have all of your books in order. Jeff, can you kind of start with the whack part? Like, what are some things that a small business can accidentally do, inadvertently do, that can mess up their books? And why is it a bad thing for your books to be messed up? If you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, when I'm forming a business or when I'm advising a business, there's a 5-step process really to make sure that things are set up correctly. And the first one being form an LLC.
Yeah.
And what I see oftentimes is people are doing business in their personal names. And next thing you know, they're actually getting caught, or they're basically getting sued. And whenever you're doing business in your personal name, you get sued, you can get what's called piercing the corporate veil, where essentially, and to be honest, that one isn't even piercing the corporate veil. That's just, you're just doing business in your personal name, right? So you're putting out there to the world that, hey, you can sue me.
You can sue me.
Exactly. You can sue me, and you can sue me personally. So one thing I would say is get an LLC, an entity structured so that if they were to sue you, they can't take your personal assets. They can only take your business assets, if any, right? The way we have our company set up, we essentially don't necessarily have, basically what happens is that the way we have the company set up is they don't really own anything per se.
Okay.
Each company has its own legal sort of structure. So that'll be one thing. And another thing is just not having something like QuickBooks in place, right?
Okay.
Not having any books and records whatsoever. So you basically don't have, you don't have a business bank account, first of all. You don't have a business credit card. And then you don't have something like QuickBooks set up that can easily track your monthly transactions, on an easy and seamless basis.
So, Jeff, what are you hit on some great points as far as people not even having an LLC set up, and piercing the corporate veil. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that corporate veil part? Because I know we have entrepreneurs who are working from home, right? They're working from home and they don't have an LLC, or they have an LLC and they're working from home. They don't have a business address, meaning people could literally go online and find their house. So can you share a little bit about a part of kind of having those books whacked by having that LLC in your personal name and working from your house, and how that could hurt you?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, an LLC is a legal entity that allows you to protect your personal assets in a nutshell, right? You can get things like business credit. You can do a lot of different things with that LLC. So when you have your LLC, you have to do really three things. You got to set up a business bank account. And once you set up that business bank account, you got to make sure that it's funded with at least some dollars, even if it's $100 in the account. Like if you go and open an account right now and it's not funded, then if a judge finds that out, then they can technically pierce the corporate veil. Piercing the corporate veil simply means that you can be held liable in the event of a lawsuit for your personal assets. So you can have this nice LLC, but if you're depositing money into your personal account, as it relates to the business, then that's a big problem, because the judge can say, okay, well, why is this person depositing money into their personal account? Are they doing business in their personal name? Because that can sort of basically, it's going to confuse the judge. It's going to confuse the person that you're suing. So that's the first thing. And then second thing too is essentially, you want to make sure that the business is funded correctly. So in a nutshell, what happens when you pierce, if a corporate veil is pierced, is that if somebody were to sue your LLC, they can take everything that you own personally, because you are commingling personal and business funds. Looks like you're muted, James.
I was muted. I'm up here like, wow. Okay, man. That's crazy. Okay. So really, part of getting your books from being whack is making sure, especially if you're an entrepreneur. And I know we have a lot of different kinds of entrepreneurs. So we've got people who've already been in business, people who are just now starting out. One of the things that I'm glad that we're having this session is because, we want to be able to protect people before they even get going, right? And I'm glad that you shared that part as far as getting the LLC set up, making sure that, you've got a business account. I always like to encourage everyone to get a business address. Just keep everything completely separate. Don't use your home for anything. Even with an LLC, a good lawyer, depending on which side you're on, and you're working from your house, could go after a whole bunch of stuff. And so I try to encourage everyone, get a business address, separate the whole thing. And that way you can start off correctly, right? Your books are going to start off the right way. And you mentioned QuickBooks. Is QuickBooks something that anyone pretty much can do?
Yeah, I mean, QuickBooks is a software that has been set up to be very, very easy for anybody to use. It's an online software that basically allows you to do a few things, really. So, for example, it allows you to do things like download and categorize transactions, right? You can link your business checking account or credit card account to QuickBooks. It pulls all your transactions for you, and all you're doing is going, okay, meals, travel, utilities, home office, right? Income. So you want to do this on a weekly or so basis. It's not hard to use at all. I mean, once you get QuickBooks, they have videos and tutorials that can walk you through every single tab. It's very, very easy to set up. And ultimately, you know, there's, for example, platforms like YouTube that can, if you want some extra training or if you want some extra, you know, tutorials on it. And then in our firm, Badu Tax Services, we do a 1-hour training, you know, for clients or for anybody who's interested. So it's not hard at all. It's very, very easy, very, very seamless to get set up. You know, and when you first get in there, as with anything, it's going to take a little bit of time to get used to it. But at the same time, it's not really meant to be complicated. And just so you know, too, James, I used to sit on the council of Intuit or council of QuickBooks. And so we've helped develop the product as well. And we know all the ins and outs of everything that it took, all the pain points that it took to get here. So right now it's in a tip-top shape, and it's very, very easy and seamless to use, and it's very cost effective too.
And y'all thought we were just having some friends on here. Come on now. These people are tip-top subject matter experts. I love it. Why do I feel like I sound like Stephen A. Jackson? I'm sorry. I can't help it. But hey, listen, do you recommend small businesses starting out? Do you recommend they have an accountant kind of on board, kind of, you know, in the cut while they're figuring things out? Or do you say, hey, I'm starting with an accountant? I know for me and my businesses, I just had an accountant because I just didn't, not that I didn't have time, I was focused on other things on the business. And I think that's what makes accountants so important. Now, I know a lot of small businesses maybe like, I can't afford an accountant, you know, I mean, but you never know. I mean, you don't know until you ask. And it sounds cool when people are like, James, can you send that stuff over? I'm like, yo, let me check with my accountant real quick. It just sounds real legit, like you wouldn't believe. So can you explain, is it cool? Would you advise having an accountant right off the bat? Or would you advise, hey, learn QuickBooks and then bring an accountant on once you blow up? Because my thing is, hey, you never know what your business is going to do. And you want to kind of, you know, not have any surprises. But what do you suggest, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's an awesome idea to have an accountant on at least a retainer, something that's like, hey, you know, if I call you, bill me X amount or something like that. So for example, in our firm, we have a package called tax planning where we're available the entire year. We typically meet once a quarter with our clients just to make sure they're set up correctly, make sure things are going well. And we give them tax strategies to make sure they're minimizing their tax liability as well. So I think any business, it could be a lemonade stand that's standing out on the street, you know, somebody who's just out there selling lemonade. It's a good idea at a minimum to just have somebody that is just on retainer at a minimum that you can just reach out. Yes, you can do QuickBooks on your own. You know, you can download templates, you can download spreadsheets on your own, which is fine. But I think it's a good idea to, even if it's a community, you know, somewhere where it's subject matter experts that can come, just like, you know, Chicago Urban League, right? Where you can get access. There you go. You can get access to something like this. So you don't have to have a full-blown accountant that's sitting next to you or in an office all day, you know, paying them 50 grand or so a year. But you should have somebody in your corner, just like a coach, you know, a boxer, they have some sort of coach, somebody who's helping them, guide them throughout the year. So you should have your, you know, your financial coach, you should have your legal coach, and then you want to probably have like a marketing coach, you know. So for me, I'm the type of person that I'm hiring an expert. It will cost you some money, but if these folks are on retainer, you know that you're only paying them if you need their services. Right. And so with that, please make sure you also educate yourself on the topic. So make sure you're attending the workshops, make sure you're attending the seminars. Make sure you're, you know, you're equipping yourself with so much education, and then at the right time, pass it to an accountant, knowing that you know everything about the books, knowing everything, easily how to ask certain questions. So I think it's a great idea to have somebody in your corner off the jump. Okay, and that's great. I remember Oprah Winfrey said that she's a billionaire, but she knows where all of her money is. Like, oh yeah, there's not a, okay, I have an account, take care of it. Like, she knows. Like, whoever's her account, they already know. Like, you can't siphon off. Exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly. It's like she knows all of it. And I thought that was some great advice. Interesting enough, the bar, what's that guy, LeVar Barr, the guy, I mean, all three of his sons are in the NBA, LaMelo, Latane, whoever, all of them.
during the NBA, and a story came out that a trusted friend who was managing their money stole $1 million. Like they didn't even know it. You know, and so I think it's important. You know, I think that's a great idea. The Know QuickBooks, so you know how to operate it, and then have an accountant so that you know what's going on. So I didn't think about I didn't know you could have accountants on retainer. That's good to know.
Yeah, and think about it too. Why is Oprah a billionaire? Because she's financially aware.
Right.
Like, how can you get to her status without being financially aware? Yeah, she could have made up all the excuses in the world. I don't have time. I don't have this and that. But it's like she knows where every dollar is going. She knows where every investment is going because she requests a review of her finances. She has that transparency. She has that login access. So another thing too, when you pass something on to somebody, don't just say, "Hey, leave with it," right, forever.
Right.
Please make sure you're keeping track of it. You're actually holding them accountable. At a minimum, once a month, you're meeting with them, or you're requesting reports to review them.
Excellent, Jeff. That's awesome. Hadassah, welcome. How are you?
Hey, how are you? I'm doing good.
Let me just say, Hadassah knows her stuff. I have a tech startup, and Hadassah literally did a 5-year financial projection for my company before I was going in front of investors. And I mean, I couldn't have done it. Well, I shouldn't say I couldn't have done it. It probably would have taken me about 3 years to do it. And it was so dope. It was laid out. So I'm just telling you, when you're ready to get in front of people with money and you're ready to whatever it is, Hadassah is that person. I mean, it was so dope. I still have it, right? I ended up launching it and then we shut it down because I'm working on some other stuff. I'm going to relaunch it. We'll be reaching back out to Hadassah again. But she is definitely the person you want to speak to when it comes to getting everything in order. Hadassah, can you share a little bit about yourself and your company and how you help small businesses before we get into some things?
Sure. And thank you to the Chicago Urban League for hosting this event. And thank you, James, for moderating. My name is Hadassah Hickman. I'm the founder of Sitar Group. Sitar Group works with nonprofits and businesses to align their financial values to their strategic plans. So that 5-year model that you talked about, James, I think it's always about the planning, even though what we project does not always happen. So I am a product of the South Side. I love bringing resources to the South Side. It's extremely difficult to bring capital to the South Side. And I think and it's not just the South Side, but to our communities. And there's a reason for that. And part of that lies in the discussion that we're having right now. So I 100% agree with, and second and plus one, everything that Jeff indicated. But I think the one of the major things that we have to think about, especially coming out of this pandemic and going back into what we describe as normal, is that we approach our finances the same way we approach our household finances. So we have to make sure that when we align resources, we're aligning like our own internal resources. Those resources that we have, the fear, the shame, the blame, all those things around finance that we tend to avoid and we not take the time to sit down and look at. So you talked about Oprah, and I think she's a great model because she's someone that has gone through all levels of business. Meaning started as an employee, was responsible for W-2 and therefore taxes and that sort of thing, all the way up to the level that she is now. But I remember one thing happened during her retirement party, and that was she indicated that she was signing the checks. So not just knowing where the money was going, but she was responsible for having policies in place over a certain dollar amount, which allowed her to know what was funneling in and out of the business. She took the time. So all I could say is I can't give advice on what you should do and how you should do it, but I think the main thing is to just sit down and take time. Take time to be with your finances. Take time to be with your emotions around finance. Take time to understand what's happening in your business, and take time to understand that finances tell.
It might have a mic glitch.
Yeah, froze a little bit.
Out.
Right, freezes at the wrong time.
Oh.
Can you go back a little bit?
But Yeah, I was going back to say our finances tell a story. And because we don't sit down and take the time to look at what is coming in, what is going out, what's driving my business, what feels good about how money is flowing into my business, all of those things, we avoid the conversations and we avoid the activity around finance. So this is what we saw happen with PPP. So real time, what can we do? We have to do all those things that Jeff indicated. We have to have an accounting system. No more pen and paper. No more shoe boxes. No more, I'm going to wait until the end of the year. This is a weekly, monthly, quarterly, at the worst type of thing. We have to sit down and start looking at our numbers so that when we do meet with a lender, when we are trying to grow, when we are looking for that next round of whatever carrot is dangled in front of us to infuse capital into our businesses, we are prepared for that. And right now, we are still avoiding some of these conversations and these decisions and these actions and these behaviors around finance, which really, that's where I'm saying we have to get back to some basics around that. Can't get to billionaire status. I'm not there, so I can't tell you what that means, but I can say, having run an institution, a business for 16 years with employees, without employees, with contractors, without subcontractors, with all of these things that come with running a corporation. It is a corporation, whether it's an LLC or S Corp, C Corp, nonprofit, whatever status you have behind it, you have a financial responsibility, and we keep avoiding this. I'm saying collectively, we keep avoiding this.
And that's a great point. I know that at the Urban League, we kind of sat on the side where when loans were coming through, we had to review documents, and one of the sad things that we saw, especially with minority businesses, was that they didn't have all their ducks in a row. Not all, obviously not all, but a lot. There was a lot more money that could have gone to minority and women-owned businesses simply filing taxes. You know what I mean? Simply, I think, Hadassah, Jeff talked a lot about what makes your records whack, right? What makes your things whack? And what are some things that, and you kind of alluded to some of that in your introduction, but what are some things that companies can do to get them in order? Obviously, if you're an entrepreneur, we don't know when this may happen again, when money may just be available because of a pandemic. And we've got to be prepared at all times, right? All the companies that we signed off on were ready. I mean, it was like, boom, they already had it. Why? Well, they had an accountant in place. They had their financial records in place. They had already filed taxes. There was no like, oh man, let me call my accountant, see if we can whatever. What are some things that they can do now that can be ready, not even if there's a pandemic, but just to be ready anyway?
I think another thing that I saw was people did not know what was on their tax returns, right? They didn't know how things were filed. So number one, pull out your tax returns. Pull out your tax returns for the last 2 years. Look at the revenue. Look at the cost of goods. Look at the expenses. What is on your tax returns? Look at your profit and loss statement. This is the statement that if you are using a digital accounting system, you can pull down your financial statements. What do those statements tell you on a monthly basis? Are they showing you your revenue? Does that look right? Pull down your bank statements. Pull down your credit card statements. Check in with these things. I think one of the lost arts of managing finances in the household as well as in the business is sitting down and balancing that checkbook. So because we don't touch these things the way we used to anymore, and because everything is moving so fast, like your expenses are imported into QuickBooks, and what used to take 4 or 5 hours can now happen in 10 minutes. It just comes in and we're not really pausing. So the first thing I'd say is sit down and just get your financial house in order. Pull your documents, review them, talk to someone about them. Oftentimes Jeff has given us an understanding of a personal service. If you are going to a corner, whatever it might be, then you're not getting a personal service. Have a conversation with someone around how your taxes are being filed. Have a conversation with someone around your revenue statement, or your profit and loss statement, your balance sheet. What's happening there? What are these things telling you about your business? And then I'd say even learn the language of finance. It is another language. We're saying profit, loss, expenses, cost of goods sold, gross margin, balance sheet, assets, liabilities. What is this? It's a whole new language. So sit down and educate yourself. The Urban League, sign up for a class at the Urban League. YouTube it. We don't have any excuses these days, but we have to start to speak the language of finance so that we can understand what it means and how it's impacting our businesses. That's probably where I'd start. Even for the OGs, sometimes I find myself like, it's not a priority. I'm gonna get back to it until it is a priority. And that is a danger even for us that have been in business for a long time. You can get too comfortable, but always check in on your systems, your policies, and your practices.
I love that. Jeff, can you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, that's what was basically right in that you've always got to check in. You just have to first of all, you have to care about the stuff, because sometimes we're out there running our business, whether we're baking cake, we're slinging real estate, whatever it is, we're doing this business as a passion, as something that we love doing. But it's like, man, do we really take the time to at least care about the numbers, the results that actually generate from the business? And so I think once business owners really start caring even more about their numbers, they can say, oh, okay, well, let me get my finances in order. Let me get my QuickBooks set up. Let me get it reconciled. When I do my taxes, I'm not just going to hand it to the guy down the street and get it back while it's, after it's been submitted without even looking at it. So it's like, we have clients that literally, when they first come in, they'll say, okay, yeah, can you do the taxes? And then they'll ask, hey, has it been submitted? I'm like, well, we can't submit it without you looking at it first, because we want you to see how it is. We want you to see the results. Are you happy with it? Are there more write-offs that, somehow were missed on the tax return that you didn't capture in your QuickBooks? So overall, you really have to care, and you have to be transparent with yourself, first of all, because some people are scared of their finances. It's like a foreign language, like aliens to them. I'm like, this is your money. This is your business. This is your future. I'm only here to help you achieve your goals and your dreams.
Got it. Would you say, and I know we have a number of people who have their not-for-profits, right? Would you say that the language is still the same, even if you have a not-for-profit and a for-profit? Would you, I get, and I'm convicted, I need to do a better job of just looking at things that I'm working on, like, okay, how much, I mean, and I knew where Hadassah was going when she said, it's a long lost art of balancing the checkbook, right? Because when you balance that checkbook, you know exactly how much money. I think the debit card was the worst thing to happen to people, right? I mean, because that debit card will go through and you have 3 cents in there and it'll still go through, right? And it's like, wait a minute, if I only have 3 cents, why did it go through? You know what I mean? Oh, we haven't figured that part out yet, and now you're in the negative and you're paying all these fees. I think the debit card is from the devil, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. But if you have a nonprofit, would you recommend kind of the same language that you guys are saying? Hey, listen, it's different. I mean, someone gives you $50,000, someone gives $100,000, you raise $33. Is that, would you say, when it comes to being on top of that, that's the same language, Hadassah?
Yeah, I would say it's certainly the same language. The terms might be, crisscrossed a little bit, but it's the same thing. It's the flow of cash in, it's the flow of cash out. It's the flow of expected cash in, but expected cash in can never flow out. So at the end of the day, it is about what's coming in and what's going out. What are you forecasting in terms of what's coming in? What are you forecasting in terms of what's going out? I think one of the key distinctions with nonprofits, even though a number of African American entrepreneurs are running nonprofits. Some, because they have a service, they see a need in the community, there are problems that they're solving, and they choose that legal structure. So in choosing that legal structure, one thing to keep in mind is that you are actually more beholden to IRS requirements because you are a tax-free entity. So it's all the more important for mission-driven leaders to have an understanding, a core understanding of finance in their industry. And we know this from things like the E-Myth, and even running operations for profit or nonprofit. When you have the technicians, when you have those that are actually performing the services or responsible for creating the goods within an organization, oftentimes they are not armed with financial literacy understanding. So it is important to, at the very least, find someone that speaks a language that you can understand. And I don't mean just English. I mean the ability to just speak to you in a way where you understand, and they're meeting you exactly where you need to be met in terms of this language. And don't try to become an accountant. Badu has a number of firms. Don't try to become the accountant.
All right,
Just try. Right? Just try to have enough information to where you can understand how is this operation making money, and what has to go out in order for it to make money. But certainly take a little bit of time and make it a goal to learn the language of finance, whether you're running a for-profit or a nonprofit organization. And be gentle with yourself. Be gentle. It's a new language after all.
Gotcha. Jeff, what would you like to share on that part?
I mean, she's totally right in that, for-profit, nonprofit, it's different language, it's different sort of terminology. And even from a tax standpoint, nonprofit is a non-taxable entity, so you don't really have to do any real tax planning with that. But yeah, from a financial standpoint, you still need your QuickBooks, you still need to know your income, still need to know your expenses, you still need to know how much money is left over, so that you can either, give out money in the term of a nonprofit, you can hire more employees, maybe you're short, so you need to get more donations, or just go out there and get more money. It's the same concept, but the terminology is pretty much different. That's all really there is as far as difference is concerned.
Okay. As we close out here, another quick question came in. So I have a business. We're just starting out. What would you recommend is the best way? I'm trying to read it here. What would you recommend is the best way to set up money or understanding? Okay, I'm trying to phrase what they said, right? All right. So it's like, so basically, I have a business. We're starting out. What is the best thing to do to start off making sure my finances, money coming in, is right? I think it's just one of those. I think they're scared and they're like, okay, what do I do first, right? So what do you recommend that they do first? Hadassah.
Everything that Jeff indicated, make sure that you have a business account, and you have a personal account, and you are clear on what goes into the business account, what goes into the personal account. Make sure you have your corporate entity set up, as he indicated, your step 1 and your step 2. Make sure that you have a customer. Make sure that customer is going to pay you, and you have ways that customer can pay you. So if they're writing you a check, you need a bank account. If they are paying you by credit card, you can use different accounting systems like QuickBooks or Waze or Stripe, and those types of softwares to process a credit card. But make sure that you have you have a system that can invoice, that comes out of your accounting system. So if you are on ready for customer 1 and you're concerned about how to get the money in, do those things. And then start that process and that journey to learn the the language of finance.
Okay. All right. I love
Don't
it.
be scared. That's the other thing. Don't be scared.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Okay. Another person. All right. I'm using PayPal Square. Do you still recommend that for my business and counting and keeping my money or something like that? Jeff.
Yeah, so PayPal and Square are just the ways to receive the money, right?
Okay.
They're just the payment platforms. They're just the income behind the business. Well, what about expenses, right? That's what goes through QuickBooks. So
Gotcha.
basically, in a perfect world, you would have QuickBooks to track all your income, all your expenses, whether it's from PayPal, whether it's from Square, and then you would link PayPal and Square by clicking a few buttons to your QuickBooks so that it can easily and seamlessly capture that income for you.
Okay, so I'm gonna elaborate on that real quick just to make sure. Great question there, by the way. So if they're using PayPal and Square, they're swiping. They're a vendor, let's say, and they sell T-shirts, and boom, they sold $4,000 worth of whatever. If they can link their PayPal whatever to their QuickBooks, and then it'll highlight the money they brought in, and then they're able to put out, okay, I need to, pay for mailings, right? So, or I need to pay for. Some people ordered it online, we didn't have it. We said we'd mail it. So that then becomes some of the expenses, correct? And QuickBooks will do all that for you, right?
Yeah, and then also, you got to think outside the box. Other expenses, you got things like advertising. You have things like supplies, employees, right? Home office, utilities, meals, travel, right? All that stuff. You got to always think about that. Hiring your kids, you need something to track all those expenses, and that's where QuickBooks truly comes in handy.
Okay. All right. Someone just asked, does QuickBooks does it monitor inventory as well?
Short answer is yes, it does. Okay. If you use the Plus version, it can monitor your inventory. Now, usually I recommend you have a separate inventory management system as well on top of that. So if you're using Square, for example, then you want to make sure it mirrors with QuickBooks. So usually you're going to have two systems for that. If you're a retail company, one that's for your inventory itself, and then QuickBooks is just like a sort of a secondary platform for that.
Okay. Someone says James talked about projections earlier. How do I do projections? And I just started out if I want, and do I need projections to get money from a bank? Hadassah.
Well, I'm going to be 100% honest, and 90% of the people in the room probably may not like this. But when you are just starting out and you have not figured out your customer and your market and your service model and that sort of thing, I wouldn't suggest that you actually even go looking for capital. Outside of the PPP program that a lot of business owners are familiar with, the SBA is a guarantor on small business loans. But one thing to keep in mind is that they look for 2 to 3 for their 7A program or their 504 program. They're looking for 2 to 3 years of financials. Gotcha. And within those financials, activity that has actually happened. They're also looking for
Oh no.
Froze up a bit.
Yeah.
I just go out again. Okay. Yeah, you have to have been in business and you have to show a profit, and there's a certain debt service, something called a debt service level that they are looking for. So my suggestion would be to just kind of back up a little bit and make a goal. Like, how many customers do you anticipate serving? And if you want to do a full projection model, that's a long conversation, but you're essentially projecting out how you're going to make revenue, how many customers or clients you're going to serve, and what it's going to cost you in order to be able to fulfill that. Your expenses, your cost of goods sold, and all of those daily business expenses.
Gotcha. Okay, that was good. Looks like we got 8 minutes. Checking for another question here. Okay. Does it matter how much money you bring in on QuickBooks, or rather, okay. So if my company makes a lot of money, at what point? I'm a phraser. at what point should I get an accountant and move from QuickBooks? So I guess they're basically saying if I bring in they brought in $100,000 all of a sudden, when should they move to getting an accountant?
I mean, honestly, so I'm assuming more of like a full-time, not a full-time accountant, but more somebody who, does day-to-day books. So if that's the case, then I think 100,000 is the revenue amount that would be appropriate to have somebody basically do the bookkeeping for them. Okay. Or if they truly don't have the time in the world to do their own books, and or they just don't have an understanding when it comes to finances, and they just need something to get going like immediately, because without that, they're not able to run their business. So if you've been doing your own QuickBooks, and by the way, even as accountants, we're using QuickBooks for you too. So when we're doing your bookkeeping, we're actually using QuickBooks as well, just like you're using QuickBooks. So with that, I think $100,000 number is a safe revenue amount to actually get a full-time bookkeeper who's going to do the day-to-day bookkeeping for you.
So you're saying that I set up QuickBooks, you have my login, you're basically doing it for me. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And then we're putting more of a professional touch to it too.
Oh, like my logo and stuff? I'm just kidding. So that sounds great. I mean, that's something where like I could just set it up and then I could just go and log in and look and see how things are going. All right, that's awesome. So we've got about 5 more minutes left. Let's give some parting advice, if you will. Trying to see if any more questions are coming in. Not right now. Any parting advice right there? Hadassah, what would you like to share?
I just say, let's get in the game. I think we had a couple months of understanding for some of us what we were not doing right in our businesses as it related to finance, and it cost us. And I think this is going to be a generational cost to the Black community. But we can do better. We have to learn the language. We have to operate as business owners, and that means that we're taking time for the financial part of our operations. We're taking time to get closer to what the numbers are telling us in our businesses. We're taking time to ask for help when we need help, or we're taking time to seek help when we know that we don't have all of the answers. And we are also, if I can just drop it here, we just are also going to have to take it back to community banks and credit unions and institutions that will continue to support us when it is time for us to have capital infusions, whether it's loan or some other type of financial product. So I think just stay vigilant to what your finances are telling you in your business, because it's telling you a story. And the more that we listen, the better we can actually operate our enterprises.
Yeah, looks like you're muted, James.
Like, how long have we been doing this for? Like a whole year and a half. And like, Jeff, you got about 4 minutes. I was acting like I was muted, but it's like, isn't that crazy? I've seen people do that. I'm like, how long have we been doing this? So hopefully we won't be doing that soon. But I mean, I don't know. I still like Zoom. Plus, I'm working on some projects where I need people coming back to the office. So yeah. Jeff, what are some things that you can share with some people? I got a question coming in, but it's still typing. But go ahead, Jeff. What are some parting words you can share?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, you owe it to yourself anytime you start a business to really take this stuff seriously. So you want to get your legal entity set up. And I know sometimes we try to cut corners and think we can go the quote unquote easy way out. To be honest, to form a legal entity is not all that complicated of a process, nor is it that costly either. So make sure you have these things in order, because it's truly serious. I understand that, we got into business to do the things that we love to do, but we have to do these other things as well, because that's the only way we can grow and expand as business owners. That's the only way the banks are going to take us serious, if we've got our documents in order and our ducks in a row. So take it seriously. Everything that we're saying today, really take a moment to really embrace it and say, what am I going to do today that will help my business tomorrow? Wow. Because when you do these things, then it allows you to grow at a much faster pace, and it allows you to achieve your true goal of, being successful in your business.
I love it. You said that sounds like a Quincy Jones song. Take care of tomorrow for today, or today for tomorrow. I don't know. Quincy Jones listening. I swear, I hear Tevin Campbell in the background singing. Take care of your business today. Get respect from the bank tomorrow. I'm kidding. All right, good. Looks like okay. I'm trying to squeeze one more question in here.
Mm-hmm.
It says, when should I start QuickBooks?
Now.
I didn't
Today.
I didn't want anybody to feel like they didn't answer my question.
It should have started yesterday.
Just started yesterday, right? We're not laughing at you, I promise. We're laughing with you. We just want to make sure that okay, when should I start QuickBooks? Today. All right, great. So hey, we got 2 minutes left. I want to take a time to personally say thank you to Jeff and Hadassah, two people that I love dearly and respect a great deal, and I have a great deal of admiration for. And I have personally reached out to both of them, for advice or direction or things like that. So, I'm glad they were able to do it. I'm glad you're able to take time out. It's nice outside, so I appreciate you jumping on board. But more than that, I appreciate you sharing your expertise, and your level. Real quick, is there any way anyone, I think we'll have that listed, but can you give out your contact or how that works? We can do that. Hadassah, I'll start with you, and then Jeff.
Sure, you can find me on LinkedIn. I have taken a break from all other social platforms, but you can find me on LinkedIn.
And they just look up Hadassah Hickman, right?
And I'm there.
I don't even think we're connected. I'm about to look you up on LinkedIn right now. All right, Jeff Badu, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can check out my website at jeffbadu.com. That's JEFFBADU.com. It's a lot of resources on there. And then you can also shoot me an email at jb@badutaxservices.com.
JB. Wow. I'm sorry. I had to do that, man. I had to do that.
I just watched his movie last night.
Oh, you did? Was that the one with
Chadwick?
Yeah, Chadwick?
Yeah.
I watched some of that the other day, man. I was like, this brother really embodied everybody he did. I mean, we were truly blessed with his work. Oh my gosh. So all right, our class is over. It was supposed to be done at 1:50. It's 1:50. I want to make sure that everybody knew I ended on time. Okay, so I do want to make sure everybody jumps into the next class. It's going to be incredible. Thank you guys again, and you guys have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.